anything really against the Army. It's always an individual. Okay, so my assignments officer, every officer in the military has an assignments officer that directs your career, determines where you're going to go next and what you can do and all that kind of. My assignments officer, the last time I talked to him, the reason I got out of the Army was because he told me, he said, my goals were not high enough.
1, 2, 3, go.
Jennifer Hardy, har.
Believe it or not,
Welcome to the Lawyer Dana Show.
the Lawyer Dana podcast.
Wow, we have a lot to talk about.
And we're going to do it right after this.
Welcome to the Lawyer Dana Podcast.
So I went.
Cheers.
I went in the payback period, 1976. I'm still in it. And I probably ought to tell the furniture story real quick. And okay, so here's how she works. Okay, so I didn't know what the payback period was, but later on, she comes to me one time. She has this picture of furniture, and bedroom furniture, and she says, I want this bedroom furniture. And I said, we don't need bedroom furniture, Helen. And she says, oh yes, we do need that bedroom furniture. She says, have you looked at our bedroom furniture? I said, I don't look at our bedroom furniture. She says, there's a crack in the mirror, in our bedroom mirror. And I said, well, it doesn't bother me. I just move outside the crack. And she says, the drawers stick. And I said, well, I keep them open. What's the problem? And she said, there's rubs on the bedroom, on the furniture. And I said, look, everything that, we don't ever invite anybody into the bedroom. If there's one place in the house where you don't need to spruce it up, it's the bedroom, because, okay, the den and family room's okay, but not the bed. Everything I want to do in the bedroom, I can do with the light off. And she said, well, I want this bedroom furniture. And I said, I don't care if you don't want it. I want it. And it's payback time. And I took the first time I really took a look, at this stuff. I said, it looks expensive. And she says, it is. And I said, well, maybe we should go someplace else. And she says, no, this is what I want. And I said, well, we don't have any extra money. She says, that's your problem. And so
You figured out how to pull the trigger.
Now I had enough money. I didn't have enough money to buy her bedroom furniture, but I had enough money to go to a shotgun tournament that weekend.
That's what I figure.
And so I went to the shotgun tournament.
Lanny, I'm starting to experience some of that for myself.
And I go to the shotgun tournament, and so anyway.
Summer would agree.
Yeah. I guarantee you, this just became Summer's favorite episode of the podcast.
So basically, after a couple of weeks, she said, how are we doing on the bedroom furniture? I said, I do what everybody does when they haven't done anything. I said, I'm working on it. I haven't done anything about it. So I go to, I don't know, maybe I was doing a talk someplace. I come home, and she picks me up at the airport. She's taking me home, and she said, she hands me 3 crisp $20 bills. I said, what's this? And she says, I sold our bedroom furniture. There's your half. I go home, and the mattress and box springs are on the floor. My underwear is in a cardboard box up against the wall. And she didn't stop there. She told our friends, do you have bedroom furniture? We don't. My husband won't buy me bedroom furniture. We don't have any bedroom furniture. I have to,
Oh my goodness!
Okay, so,
I love this.
The next week I go to the shotgun tournament, and if she hadn't sold the bedroom furniture, I would never have heard the conversation about furniture and guns by another shooter. And I didn't know this guy, but because he's talking about owning a furniture store, I went over and I met David Funes, and David Funes is the furniture king of Seattle, Washington at the time. He had like 6 furniture stores, and he carried the brand that my wife wanted. So you'll really appreciate this. I only had one shotgun. I had a Krieghoff Model 32 shotgun, and he wanted it. And I wanted to get my wife off my back, and I traded him my Model 32 and a couple of one-on-ones for he and his wife, mental management seminars for her bedroom furniture. And I got the whole suite.
So I'm now afraid of Summer listening to this episode of the podcast.
You don't want to.
Because I don't want to lose my Krieghoff.
Do you still have this bedroom furniture?
No.
But I didn't tell her about it. And this is how you get goals. You know, you have to trade something you really appreciate and you want, but for something you want more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but what I was looking for was I didn't tell her about it. So when it arrived and they started moving this furniture into our house.
She goes, "What are you doing? I got my furniture that I bought yesterday arriving tomorrow."
What she said was, "How did you?"
They call something, cancels it real quick.
How did you pay for this? Because she handles all the money. I don't even know how to write a check, and so she says, "We haven't paid anything on this, and I know you didn't put it on a credit card. How did you do it?" And I just looked at her and I says, "Call up all your friends. We're going to have a cocktail party in the bedroom. I'm gonna crow about because I got it done.
I think they're going to think that that's a whole different type of party.
I'm your man. You know, I took care of you." And so
Somebody shows up dressed up like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
and then she tells me,
I want to animate this episode at this point. Because I can see Helen with like the movers, like her movers are walking around the corner. She's like, "Back up." No, we're going to use his.
She told me that, "You're going to tell me how you did it." And I said, "No, I'm not going to tell you." She said, "Oh, yes, you will."
When did he tell you? Did he tell you right then, or did it take a
and
while?
She told me, she says, "If you're going to tell me." And I said, "Well, what if I don't?" She said, "Well, the next time you leave home, I'm going to sell your car." So that's true. That's exactly what she did. So
Well, I didn't sell the car.
no, but my whole point is that there are certain times in your life when you really need support, you know, because you're going to get down, and she's been great. She's been all time. She's been
Well, that's
able to
why
redirect me and all that.
We invited her and wanted her to come on the podcast here, because that's really what I wanted to hear about is what was it like for you to go through this? Because there's all kinds of, on YouTube, you know, we're one of them too, but there's all kinds of that are encouraging you and teaching you how to run a business. But you know what you don't see a lot? If you're married to an Olympian and somebody who's competing and doing these things, what is it like for you? Because every married Olympian, for every one or every person that's going through that's married, there is another person who is going through what you went through. So I want to hear from you. What is it like? How does that feel? What did you go through? What did you have to do? What was your mindset? How did you do it?
Well, by the time he made the Olympic team the first time, we had twin boys, so I was really busy for a lot of that time. And when he went for the second time, we had a girl added to the family. So I had my whole life was basically being around the kids, making sure he has everything he needs, packs his stuff when he's going somewhere, and still running a house and the kids and all of that sort of thing. That was my life, basically. Make sure dinner's on the table, make sure everybody's got what they need. And if the kids needed something, I'm the one that's taking them. Doesn't matter what it is. And he's gone a lot. But, and when he comes home, just like my mother always told me, that if your husband is away, doesn't matter how long the time frame or anything, you've got to be on your best toes. You've got to be dressed. You've got to be this, make a nice meal, all those sort of things. And so because of her and my dad and how they made it through, then that's what I tried to do. Mm-hmm. And that way you have something in common somehow where along the line, or you wouldn't have married each other. And so that's how I looked at it. My job is to make him happy, to make him feel like, okay, I've been on this hard trip, but I'm home now, so I can rest for a while. Instead of saying, hey, I need this done, and that sort of thing. No, he needs time out. I think a lot of women, especially today, because they work, they have a job as well as family and all of that, it's a struggle more so, I think, that today than it was back when we were having a family and he had this dream. And I just wanted him to achieve whatever he wanted to achieve. And that's how I've lived my life. And so this is a treat for me today to be here.
Oh,
Yes.
So it really
good.
is.
We're glad.
We're really
Yeah.
glad to have
Treat
you.
for us too.
I wasn't sure about it or anything because I usually are in the shadows, and that's fine. But this has been wonderful.
Oh, good.
It's been so great
Oh,
and sweet and all.
well, that's very sweet of you to say.
So thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're very welcome.
No, I agree with you. Like years ago, it was, I think income wise, you could live on an income of one person working. And now it's become both people need to work in order to really, if you want to get somewhere, it's like both parents have to work. And it is a struggle. I mean, I have 3 kids and I understand. Like it's trying to get them to their practices or things they want to do extracurricular, and to be a working mom and have a working dad, like you have to limit how much they can do too, because you're like, okay, I can't do all this. You get one thing, each one of you get one thing, because otherwise you just can't keep up with it. But I commend you. My mom was a stay-at-home mom with me, and growing up, my dad had his own business, and so she was very supportive of him and everything he did. But you know, being a full-time mother and a wife, it is hard work.
Well,
Very,
it
very
is.
hard work.
And when they're not home half of the time during this period.
Was
of
it about
time.
half the time that he was gone?
About half of the time through a few years there. He was gone a lot. I mean, almost half of it.
How were you earning money during this time?
He was
Well,
in the military.
when I was in the
Oh well, yeah, okay.
when,
So
when
that's
I
how-
was,
that's a
when
good-
I was in the army.
a good way.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was a captain in the army for most of those years. But it didn't stop when I got out of the army, because I was still an active shooter, and what I did to be able to subsidize my career as a shooter. I mean, when I got out of the army, I was number 1 in the world, but with a rifle. But the army would not let me continue to shoot. They wouldn't let me
Which
go
does
back down to
not make
marksmanship
any
unit.
sense
They
to
wouldn't-
me
they would-
whatsoever.
they
That's
would-
crazy.
They took offense to the fact that even if I took leave and went to a tournament, they didn't like that, or at least
But it's
I shouldn't say the
you
army.
you represented the United States literally, and you
Yeah,
were the
but
best in the world. You're
it's-
bringing home gold medal.
Yeah, that makes logical sense. I mean, what you just said made sense to me. Enough sense to me to realize that it's not the army. I'm not against or saying anything really against the army. It's always an individual. Okay, so my assignments officer. Every officer in the military has an assignments officer that directs your career, determines where you're going to go next, and what you can do, and all that kind of. My assignments officer, the last time I talked to him, the reason I got out of the Army was because he told me, he said, my goals were not high enough. That he told me, he says, you're one of our fair-haired boys. He says you've got maximum efficiency reports. You're a regular Army officer. That if you're to do that, there's 2 ways you can become a regular Army officer. You can either go to West Point, or you could go be in the top 2% of all ROTC students in the country, and I had an ROTC scholarship, and I was in the top 2%, and I had maximum efficiency reports all the time, and had excelled in everything I'd done. And he says so you're going to be. I'm going to take care of you. You're going to be on the major list before everybody else, and you're going to go to graduate school. I'll grease the skids for you and all that kind of stuff. It's just one thing that you got to do is you got to decide between shooting in the Army and I'm over there hoping that I could get back to the
I would have thought that
marksmanship unit so that I could continue
those
my
were
career.
very, very hand in hand, you know?
There's only one. Here's the problem. There were 22 guys at the Army Marksmanship Unit that they were spending a lot of money on those guys to try to get them to do what I could already do. None of them could do what I could already do. But they wouldn't let me go back. I can do it in spades. I mean, let me back. And no, we don't want you. You're too high rank. We want a sergeant. We'll pay a sergeant to be world champion, but we won't pay a major or lieutenant colonel to be. And I realized at that point, if I'm going to, and I'm reigning Olympic champion and reigning world champion at the same time, and the world championships are about to come up. And I realized that for me to go to the World Championships and defend my title, I have to get out of the Army. Now, that must have sounded like you got to be nuts when I told her that
Hold
I'm going to.
on. How did it sound? What did it sound like? What was your reaction?
Well, it was his choice, but I wasn't sure that was a good one.
I mean, think about it for a minute. I've got a college degree in business. I have been in the Army for 10 years. Have no experience in business. I went to a state school, University of Texas at Arlington. I know for sure that none of my professors except one had ever been in business. So what I learned about it, if
And I don't get that. How does a professor who's never been in business, who has no idea, think that they can teach about business?
they don't. They can advise you about. They can test you. They can pass out books and things like that. But
especially the mindset. They have no concept of it.
But I hadn't. But my whole point was I had no business experience, so I'm not going to start a business, really. And what am I qualified to do? My MOS in the military. I was a nuclear medical defense specialist, meaning that I was trained to advise a corps commander how to calculate his casualties in a nuclear exchange. I knew how to do that.
Well, that's a useful
Yes.
multi-purpose
Yeah,
thing
big
in the
demand
civilian
for
market,
that.
isn't it?
And I could put holes in paper.
Put holes in paper over
50
there.
meters away or 300 meters away better than anybody in the world. Okay, I can do that. And at that time in history, we were amateur athletes, meaning that you could not be paid to
So
shoot well.
when did that? Because I remember that even through the '80s, that Olympians couldn't be paid or whatever. Has that changed? Can you now get
Oh, yeah.
endorsements and sponsorships?
It changed. It changed. When you saw Kobe Bryant go to the Olympics, that's when it changed.
Got it.
When they started
Did they change
letting-
that for basketball?
Oh, they changed it for everything.
Well,
No, I mean because of basketball. That's why they changed it for everything. Was that the?
I mean,
do you
they
know?
have to be making money. They were on covers of Wheaties and stuff like that. cereal boxes. Olympics.
I think hockey
Like
had more to do
gymnastics
with
and
it
stuff.
than basketball, but
Okay, interesting.
But because the other countries were, especially Russia, were they were putting their pros in there, and somebody, when committees get together at the International Olympic Committee, whatever they do, it might be good for certain sports. It might be really bad for others. I have no problem with people earning a living by being able to shoot, but you got to understand that people don't make a lot of money because they're a great athlete. They make a lot of money because people are willing to pay to watch them.
Yeah.
So
That is the business.
Golf is a good example. Golf is in the Olympics now, but
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Personally, I teach a lot of golfers, a lot of tour players and people like that, but there's a lot of opportunities for golfers to make a lot of money and to get a lot of fame and things like that. But a golfer is never going to want to trade winning the Masters for a gold medal in the Olympics. For a golfer, the best that he could possibly do is still going to be the Masters. It's not going to be Olympic gold
Interesting.
medal. So if you have a sport out there where there's something else that's bigger than the Olympics, you shouldn't be in the Olympics. Like tennis, it's Wimbledon.
Right.
You know, that's the
Makes sense.
the peak. And
I would have thought that an Olympic gold medal would have been better than the Masters or Wimbledon.
no,
No.
you talk to any golfer and ask
Because
them.
that,
I bet, but I'd rather have a gold medal.
It's another
Maybe it's just me.
event. It's just
another
it's
event.
just like
Yeah.
anything else.
because the
Interesting.
Masters was the original event. Just like
Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it was the original event for golf.
Obviously,
Right.
you're not going to be learning a lot of golf from me, but I am bringing the best mindset coach for any and every golfer. You guys, if you're seeing this, you should take advantage of any and every one of his programs because they're amazing. It'll change your life. As my latest course with you, you know, I'm coming back. I'm doing another day with Todd in August, and I'm coming back to the seminar in September.
That's good.
I can't wait.
That's great.
So it was we've already talked about this on the podcast, and so I took a course with Lanny and Todd Bender, and Todd is the 26-time world champion skeet shooter, American skeet champion, and the two of them do a seminar together. It's called the Bender Bassham Seminar, and it's a 3 or 4 day, depending on when they're offering it. You only offer it like twice a year, right? And it's the best of the best. It's the best instructional program that I have ever taken in my life in anything. And I have tons and tons and tons of coaching and classes and instructional things in many different disciplines: music, art, science, technology, business, lots and lots in business, and athletics, performance, and out of everything. That Bender Bassham course was the best that I've ever taken, hands down, no question. So good, I have no hesitation about taking it again.
That'd be great. Well, you'll learn a lot more the second time through,
I believe it.
and we've seen that happen. And but mental management is a life skill. It's not
Absolutely.
a shooting skill. It's not a golf skill. I mean, we just use golf or shooting as a
right.
vehicle to be able to have a way to use it. But
Well, I think it has, since that seminar, my performance in everything has increased. And I was a pretty high-performing guy to begin with. Not to be too humbly bragging about that, but I mean, I do 92 different things. I actually, for the past 36 hours, because we had some staff members that were kind of complaining about having to track their time while they're at work. And so for the past 36 hours, I've been tracking everything that I do. It's ridiculous. And I've tracked 24 hours, and I actually tracked, well, how much did I sleep? So the night before last,
your sleep too?
I logged my sleep. And I slept for
you're going a little
I slept
too
for
far.
3.5 hours on what was it, Wednesday to Thursday, and then last night I slept 6 hours. And otherwise, I was working until a couple of minutes before I fell asleep, and then within a couple of minutes of waking up, I was working. And a lot of times I'll tell people, I take a lot of time, or last year my goal was take time off. Well, for me, taking time off it's only a mindset. Like, how do you take time off? You pause, you put a pause button on life? No, you're still living. Every minute is going by. We all have the same 24 hours in a day, 168 hours. I hope that math is right. A week. Is it 168? But yeah, 72, anyway, 64. But
Yeah, I think you're right.
is it 168? It's 168, right?
Yeah.
7
'Cause
times 7 times
2 times 7
12 times 2.
14.
Yeah.
And then you add 2 to it, so
you
168.
can't change the quantity, but you can change the quality.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, and so for me, I kind of have two types of energy. I have the work that is brute forcing. I don't want to do it, but I have to, and I really don't want to do it, and I'd rather have a different solution than me doing it. And whenever I'm brute forcing, I'm in the wrong mindset about whatever that is, because almost everything else that I do, the vast majority of what I do, it's work, work, work. How do you do all that? You must get really tired from that. I don't get tired from it at all. I gain energy the more and more and more that I do that. I want to keep doing it. I want to keep doing it. I want to keep doing it. And I flourish with that. That's really what gives me my life force and my life energy. And I can do that almost constantly all the time. And for me, me taking a vacation, a good explanation is that they say that if you enjoy what you do, you'll never quote unquote work another day in your life. And so that's what you want to do. So your work is not work. That's what it is for me, because a couple of minutes of I'm not working, and then I sit and I'm like, oh, I know what I want to do now. And I realize I didn't even take a probably 30-second break. I just had a change of my mindset, and it freed me from that wrong mindset. And so with everything that you teach, it's mental management. How do you mentally manage yourself? And applied to the sport of skeet, which I was an absolute brand new beginner. Really knew nothing about it. I had shot trap once 5 or 7 or 10, maybe 8, 10 years ago. I remembered nothing about it. Didn't have any bad habits about it. I had only been a pistol shooter. I've shot rifles. And I'm good at shooting rifles. I don't think I have any technical problems in shooting rifles that you had to undo. And the combination of the highest level of information of teaching the skills, but more importantly, starting out with, because the first day was entirely you. And so he doesn't know this part, but we told Todd, and Todd got a chuckle. So when we first walked in the room, I've got a mediation that happens to be in the exact same building. And we're on the first floor, and the mediation's right up there in the second floor. And I'm kind of distracted by that. And we come in, and it's Lanny in there, and Todd's sitting in there. And I walk in and sit down, and I'm going, okay, should I really be here? What am I doing? I'm taking it's not a cheap course. It's extremely, after you do, I have no regrets about the price. I mean, the value from it is astronomical. But I'm going, it was some money to put down to take this course. What am I doing? I should be working. I should be doing something else. How am I going to be more effective in this other stuff that I'm doing by not doing it right now and coming and doing this seminar? And part of me is going like that, and part of me just was like, just let me run. But I was like, no, I'm going to do it. And then we sit down, and Lanny tells me, so it turns out you're going to be the only one. And then part of my mind was, no, this is Lanny Bassham. I don't know who this guy Todd Bender is. He's probably something good. Or I'm with a couple of crazy guys, and what the hell have I gotten myself into? And this is nuts. That flashed through my mind for just a second. And it's also because I have kind of a comedic mind, and my mind will also jump to what's the most ridiculous way that I could explain this and see if that's funny. But I sat, and then you started talking, and within a few words of Todd speaking, I mean, whatever I don't remember what it was that he said, but whatever the first things that he was saying, I was like, oh, no, this is going to be great. And within, the first 10 to 20, 30 minutes of the material, I was hooked. You had me. There was you couldn't have dragged me away from there. Although I guess technically I did get, from upstairs in the mediation where they come in about 4 or 5 times to, hey, sorry to bother you, but I need you for this and that. And so that would just be the times when we took the breaks. But it was absolutely great. I cherished those times, and I said this on one of the other episodes of the podcast. I spent 4 of the best days of my life. And Brenda goes, because Brenda was a co-host on that one, she goes, sorry, Summer. I was like, well, except for every minute that I've ever spent with my wife. So there's everything, every second with Summer, except maybe our first year together. But no, Helen, we're going to be married for 13 years. So on our anniversary, we celebrated 12 happy years.
Always that one.
That first year was tough. It was touch and go. But a lot of it was mindset, and we hadn't communicated and known. And there was literally, we went through coaching programs that helped us with our marriage. A lot of people call that marriage counseling, but for us, we got that out of a lot of high-level business coaching. And if your business coach doesn't at some point address relationships and marriage and things like that, that's not a particularly holistic solution, because you may be doing great about this, and if your home life is a shambles, if you're not completely balanced all around, if you're not entirely a rounded person in everything, you can't have this. It's like a cancer or a goiter that'll grow out of you. You're great in this and you're strong here, but then you're depleted in everything else. You have to be a good, whole, balanced person. And your course helped me improve the entire sphere of what I do.
Thank you.
So this, I think, has been a great episode. I've been talking about, let's do long form and let's just go and go and go. And they like it when I kind of make it a little bit more episodic. So if you guys would like to stay with us and talk more, you're welcome to stay for as much or as little of the day. We basically film until 4 o'clock today, and we'll just do different episodes or whatever. But and we're gonna have lunch brought in. We will feed you, and if you'd like to stay, but whatever you want to do, and we can take a restroom break. But we're gonna take a break right now, and then we will see you on the next episode of the Lawyer Dana podcast.
Yes. Like our page, subscribe.
Please leave us some comments. And also, if you're a lawyer who is subscribed and watching, get my book. It's called Get Paid So That You Can Have a Life. And if you are
and we're going to put Lanny's information
yes.
on there too.
And if you're interested, I'm going to buy 10 of his, and we've got these 4 with winning in mind. And what I'd like to do is have, I buy these by the case.
We give them to clients.
Yes, and Freedom Flight as well.
Yes.
And I give so many of them out. I don't even have any here at the studio except these 4 with winning in mind. So we're going to sign these. And so for the first 4 people who like and subscribe and make us a comment, as long as I guess we can figure out how to get in contact with you. Like if you go to lawyer,
if you like and subscribe our page and you make a comment, we'll reach out to you and get your information so we can.
And we're going to give you one of actually we're going to keep one here in the studio if that's okay. So we're going to give away 3 autographed by the 4 of us and the crew, who's also here. Because Rick may have some fans because he's on camera. He's a funny guy. And then we have you seen how big he is? Hercules. I call him some other giants now. So we call him Andre the Giant, the one man gang, and Hercules I think is a good one. Goliath, Zeus, but how tall are you? Yeah. And he's a tank. But Lanny Bassham and Helen Bassham, thank you so much for being on the podcast. And we'll see you in the next episode of the Lawyer Data Podcast.
Bye.
Bye. There you go.
The Lawyer Dana Podcast.